CCA is bringing choice to the community. With distributed energy, bringing choice to the homeowner specifically. And relying the homeowner to determine how he or she wants to use their energy. The other benefit, there's a bunch of other benefits as well. The amount of efficiency that goes into centralized generation, transporting it all across the power lines, getting it to the local site of consumption, tremendous amount of efficiency. So if you can get to a point where you can create the energy at the pace it's consuming, will have a big impact, total cost of managing the entire infrastructure.
So how can CCAs solve this?
So it's an interesting thing. So right now CCAs, if I understand it correctly, it's mainly energy if you are contracting on the wholesale side. The benefit that distributed energy brings to the equation is a lot of reduction in wear and tear on the lines. And that's the thing, distributed energy is going to go through multiple phases. So the first phase is a straightforward energy on the roof. So solar, producing energy, net metering, back to the grid. The next phase is going to be producing energy, teaching the homeowner when to consume that energy, so going on to time of use, which is what we're going to be doing now in California. Then the third phase is going to be then solar, generating energy, deployed with smart inverters, so you can provide more grid-related services like reactive power and voltage control. And then the next phase is solar, smart inverters with load management tools, reactive control power, voltage control, and then storage as well. And so it's really important to have a phased-in approach. The cost of solar is coming down, the cost of the inverter technology is coming down, and the cost of storage is coming down. But if you apply the threshold too hard right out of the gate, as the industry is just starting to develop, you're going to destroy the innovation. You're not going to make it possible. And it's just a simple math. You do the first 5% straightforward, next 5% reactive power and voltage control, and require the industry to provide more services. Then the following 5% is reactive power and voltage control, demand load shifting with storage. And if you do all that, local generation can provide essentially most of the grid-related services, everything, night as well, demand load peaking at a lower cost than it would cost to do it today. So it has to evolve at that point.
So right now CCAs are just an energy portion of the program. The PG&E still provides all the distribution services, and the CCA line on the bill is just for the generation component. So how can we, so the things that you're talking about are things that PG&E is now providing, or the IOU is providing, not necessarily in PG&E's territory. So how do we split that up for a CCA to the CCA pay for a portion of those services, and then the IOU pays for a portion of those services?
Yeah.
How do you envision that might
This is not an easy problem to fix. This is essentially the friction of the business models. And not as a fault here, it's just the way the business model is designed. And the way the business models are currently designed is the utility infrastructure, the utility makes money by deploying infrastructure. That's the business model. It's great business models work well for 100 years. So for other companies to deploy the infrastructure, they say homeowners must deploy a bunch of power producing assets that has voltage control, that has demand load shifting, it has all these functionality. For the utility to actually accept that value means that they don't deploy the infrastructure. So naturally, there will always be a friction. There's no way around that friction unless there's revenue before. And we've actually written a paper on this. Highly encourage any of you like to get highly detailed into the paper review. But if you modify the revenue structure, allow the utility to make money of other people's infrastructure, that will open up the infrastructure, let the competitive market compete for whatever that service is. Through competition, innovation will happen, which will bring down the cost. Then the utility uses that infrastructure, but actually makes money with that infrastructure. So currently, the way the rules work is if the utility uses somebody else's service, that service costs $100, they can only rate base $100. It's a pass-through cost because it's not their infrastructure. But if they can actually charge $110 to rate there, and actually make money with somebody else's infrastructure, the friction will be reduced and who deploys the infrastructure. And then the consumer can make the choice whether they want to make an investment and deploy their infrastructure. The utility will use that infrastructure, so has to have full control over everything. So if you load manage it, you've got to have the systems integrated with the utility system so they can essentially view it the same way they would view all their generation or their capacity services. But now it's just hundreds of thousands of little systems all over the place. And if you make that change, it's not going to be an easy change. Then we'll see faster adoption and the friction will be less. But now it's natural that there will be friction because you've got to follow the money. The incentive is to not value it because if you value it, you can't deploy it yourself. Nothing wrong with it, it's just the way the economics work. If you change that, then the friction will be reduced. And this how CCAs can participate in is if the local community provided a service to the utility and get paid for that, then that would reduce the CCA's cost.
Okay, so that's something to put in our long-range strategic plan as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, California is definitely one of the leading innovators in the country when it's looking at distributed energy. The process that the PEC is going through right now and looking at distributed energy, it's now forcing the industry to educate customers on how to utilize energy, when to utilize it, which is a good thing, moving on to time of use. The next phase I suspect is going to happen is the industry is going to have to deploy smart inverters to actually provide more services to the grid in exchange for net metering. And then the third phase again is going to be smart inverters with storage, and that's going to be the evolvement.
Okay. That sounds really interesting and it's something that we'll all strive to achieve. Let's just go back to today and the nuts and bolts of just trying to get a CCA off the ground today and working with the utility. So what kind of challenges are there with interconnection to the utility distribution right now?
Yeah, you know, the California is actually not too bad. Like if I look at our plots across the country, California is actually ranked one of the better connection states. So I'm actually quite pleased with our utilities. Any utilities, thank you very much for that connection. Really helps with this model. Yeah. Anyone from APS? You are not that good. For way longer, it's the worst in the country. Sorry, I can help myself. Sometimes it takes 30 to 45 days, is the count we're seeing in California, and then of course Arizona is like 100+ days.
So as far as CCAs getting more distributed solar in their territories, they need to be financially competitive with the local IOU to attract and retain their customers. And so how do the numbers fall out right now sitting in a distributed PV system along with energy storage?
So energy, this is real key, because I think a lot of people often go to energy storage is the solution, it's just have energy storage solve the problem. We've got to phase into that. That is a requirement. If kill the industry instantly. And the proof is, look at Nevada. There's no more industry, solar industry. There's no more consumer choice in Nevada. It's dead. It's done. And what happened is this jumped too far. You've got to let it phase in. So if you take total energy sales in the country today, or in the state today, in California, total energy sales, rooftop solar is just a little over 2%. It's still a very small portion. So you got to let it scale, let it get high enough, so then, but in return for allowing for fair compensation, essentially net metering, the industry has to provide more services. If you go from 2% total energy sales to eventually 5 or 8%, and then you add more requirements, and this would be bringing storage. And Hawaii is actually probably a classic study. Hawaii now, depending on the surface you're looking at, has between 10 and 15% penetration. So it's real high penetration. And the PDC decided there that they will still allow for solar interconnection, but it's a non-export solar interconnection requirement. And at first the market was reacting negatively to that because how do you design a system that doesn't export even with storage? But at that penetration, you have to start addressing the issue. And so now actually Hawaii is become a growth market. As before it was a backline market because you couldn't interconnect the systems. Now you can actually interconnect it, but it's not going to be an export solution. All the energy can be self-consumed, and then the energy will consume at night. And the interconnection requirement is within 15 days. Our consumers can start adopting that. They'll address their own energy needs. They'll still have a utility bill, still work with, still pay a fair amount of energy from the utility bill. In that scenario, storage can work. The other aspect of it is the cost of energy. There is 30 cents a kilowatt. And so that total package is going to be, the market price will probably be around 26 cents a kilowatt. So that wouldn't work in any other state in the country. The economics just don't fit. Now, solar cost keeps on coming down, and storage cost keeps on coming down. Storage has come down, essentially reduced in half over the last 3 years. And the forecast is that the storage cost is going to reduce in half again over the next few years. Solar will keep on coming down. And so as the volume increases, you can then apply the pressure that you need to add storage as you need to provide more services to the grid. But if you do it too early, it will stop that innovation and it will stop that solution.
So are there some installations that Solar City is putting in California now that do incorporate storage? And how are you making those work?
Yes, so this is, we have to do a lot. So we have two different sectors here. So we have residential storage and then commercial storage. Commercial storage is straightforward economics. We are offsetting demand through pricing of cost per kilowatt, so we actually price against the demand fee, and the economics work. So any of those who have commercial buildings, there's no, we can address the demand and energy. Residential is different. Residential right now, the functionality is just backup. And the way I always like to describe it is if you're getting a lithium-ion battery pack inside of your wall, it's like having a Tesla car that you only can drive 10 miles an hour when you're only using it for backup. It's an amazing piece of equipment that it can be used for a small function. And it may get used once a year or twice a year. But that piece of equipment can be used for so much more if it actually was allowed to provide its service to the grid. And so it's there, but it's not providing that potential function. And there's no incentive to provide that potential function.
So let's talk about policy a little bit. What kinds of policies at the state and local level do you foresee helping to move solar along, and particularly having solar or distributed generation deployed under CCA programs?
Yeah, so I think the first question we have to ask ourselves, do we want a world where we want to give consumers choice and enable them to participate in the energy market?
Well, it's a yes.
Okay. This room, I'm sure yes. Okay. So if that is the assumption, what is the glide path? Get and as I already explained, the glide path is phasing approaches, and as you phase in more and more, as you get more scale, and you can provide more services, you get to a point where you have a grid that's far more resilient, can handle terrorist attacks, can handle any weather you throw at it. It is super resilient. And it will actually end up costing less. That's the other key. Like if you bring real competition into the equation, competition will drive innovation, which will drive down cost. With CTA, you'll be able to bring competition to your wholesale, but you still cannot bring competition into the actual infrastructure. And so to bring competition within the infrastructure, it will drive down the cost for everyone. But you have to create a revenue model which then actually works for the utility at the same time. So that's the complexity.
Being a PUC on residential rate structures and talk about a higher minimum charge or a larger fixed charge that's going to be coming along later in the solar industry, of course, reacted negatively against that. So those changes are coming. How's the solar industry going to respond?
I think the outcome that came out in California was a fair outcome. The DC looked at this and really was thoughtful on how do you push the industry to evolve. The idea of just having a solar system and then having full retail metering for perpetuity, I think solar can do more. If you're not using all this functionality. This first step was very thoughtful is time of use. When I got here 18 years ago, there were advertisements, don't use power during the day. I'm not sure if you guys know that. I can remember. Don't use power during the day, use power at night. Most people still think it's best to use power at night, not during the day. We got to undo all that education and realize that power gets super cheap during the day, super cheap during the day. And so use power during the day. And so what this is going to do is we're going to have hundreds of thousands of customers starting to learn how to manage their power. So that time of use will push us to teaching customers how to do that. Then those customers will hopefully teach the neighbors how to use power. And eventually we can get to a point where everybody is buying energy, knows when to buy it, when is the cheapest time to buy it. And if people understood that, if you did your laundry in a day, it would cost you 50 cents less than doing laundry in the evening, then I mean people do laundry in a day. So if you just set a timer, it's not that hard. So I think that's very thoughtful in how that outcome occurred. But that's still not enough. So that's the view. This next phase. And once again, the next phase is then providing smart inverters. The smart inverter is going to increase costs for the solar industry, but it can provide a necessity, a really important function to the grid, and that is voltage control and reactive power. But most of Center Rockford is related to reactive power. Solar with smart inverters can address this. And it's a real key for this audience to know that that is not only during the day, it's 24/7. Because it's the inverter part that's working, that's on 24/7. You don't have to wait for the energy.
So we'll just change directions a little bit. You said you came to this country 18 years ago, and you have an interesting story about how you were able to get your green card. It didn't have anything to do with solar energy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it did have to do with perseverance and holding your breath. I started my first company at 17, so I didn't went to university, so I don't have a degree. Came over and started a software company under a E2 visa, which is an investor-owned visa. after raising a bunch of venture capital, I didn't own 50% of the company anymore, too. Really small. And so then I was going to get deployed. I was deploying 208 software engineers. It was doing well. I had 4 lawyers working on it, but no, I was getting deployed. There was no solution. Both my wife and I played a sport called underwater hockey. A lot of fun, real sport. Master swim, snorkel, go down, hold the breath, play as long as you can. And then you just talk to your buddy before you come over there, you go down to the end. Her music expired too, so she was going crazy. She figured out that this category called exceptional ability. And we actually are really good at underwater hockey. We both played for the US team, and so she filed for her green card through underwater hockey. She got her green card because I'm married to her. I got my green card. And was able to stay in the country, and then she started.
So how long did you hold your breath for?
Yeah, until I stalled. No, it's 30 minutes of science, so it's about hold your breath and repeat. It feels like what?
This is a big spectator sport.
It's not a spectator sport. Even someone who plays the sport, watching the sport is boring. It's not as boring as watching golf. For those golf fans, watching golf is really boring.
So, this morning, Commissioner Peterman said that we still need to figure out how to identify, maximize, and monetize behind-the-meter energy storage. You talked a bit about that. What other, you talked about the phases that we need to go through kind of in grid modernization and using smart inverters. What other things do you see that out there in the future that we might be striving for?
Yeah, the challenge that we're going to have, just as an energy industry, is that the base going to occur. The solar industry can say it delivers this value. The solar industry can say it doesn't. And so that's going to be the debate. You're going to put the PUC in a situation they're going to really have to try and figure this out. Good luck.
2019.
But the debate's going to occur, and so you've got to follow the money. As soon as the value is accepted, then it's infrastructure that usually cannot deploy. And so the way to reduce that is to change the revenue model. And if they can make money from other people's infrastructure, we look at the Bay Area, like the #1 driving factor for innovation for any of our products, any of our solutions, is competition. Hands down, how good would your phone be if there was no competition? Like, how good would your car be if there was no competition? Competition drives innovation. And it's about opening up the infrastructure that will drive competition to provide that solution. And we'll come up with solutions after we think that are, in the end, it'll be better for the rate. And so that is the challenge. And the existing infrastructure can resist that change. Not because it's bad, just because it's changed. When you have a business model that's been around for 80 plus years, this type of change is a big change. And one will not always look at it and go, is it truly a better change? But in the end, it will be a better change.
So, some of us that are working on community-based energy, and those of us who are elected, we're looking at our climate action plans for our communities and trying to reduce greenhouse gases, getting to 100% renewable. Do you foresee a future where we can be 100% renewable, or will we always need a little bit of gas-fired generation or something like that? Will we still need fossil fuels there, or can we get rid of them, and when?
Thank you. So, the absolute see us getting to 100% renewable. Well, actually, put it this way. I see us getting to a 90+% renewable relatively soon. I pull that within a 20, 30 year time frame. I think we can absolutely achieve that. That last 10%, and it is hard to solve. So if you're solving for the low production year, aluminium Iranium, you have to have a lot of extra storage capacity. And so that may take a little longer, but I can definitely see us getting to a 90% aluminium infrastructure, for sure.
Okay, so I think we've got to the end of our time here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And